Other comments? Next item, discussion by council vote or other action on update from Municipal Building Review Task Force. As you can tell in your packet, there is nothing from the task force because we took no action on a number of those issues. The pay requisition number 4, the task force had multiple questions and comments on it that the contractor didn't seem to want to address. So we denied payment until we took those actions. There are some change orders out there, both in our favor and against us, that we're waiting to get better information on. And the payment of invoice to Secoshin Associates just wasn't submitted because I had all that other paperwork that I was doing and I just didn't get it to them, so we'll get it next meeting. So that's what we said on the task force. Discussion by council.
Mr. President, you skipped payment of bills.
Discussion by council vote or other action on payment of bills. You do have invoices from 2018, 2019 in the amount of $31,823.29, and invoices from 2019, 2020 budget of $171,646.92 for a total invoices of $203,470.21. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved, Mr. President.
Motion by Mr. Zelinski. Is there a second by Mrs. O'Hara? Any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
My mistake. Next item, discussion by council vote or other action on Iron Mine Hill Road Tax Stabilization Agreement, redevelopment. Under my name, I put this on there so we could continue the discussion. We did have discussion at the last council meeting with Mr. Mancini, and I believe Mr. Brusini is here tonight. The attorney we met with a month ago. We should have all gotten 9 different LLCs. So with that, I would turn it over to Mr. Brusini if he has any comments.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Stephen Brusini, B-R-U-S-I-N-I, an attorney in Providence representing Green Development and its 9 affiliates who developed the Iron Mine project. This has been before you a number of times. Most recently, about 2.5 weeks ago, I sent revised and redlined versions of the tax stabilization agreement, which is pretty straightforward, and also a development agreement that addressed a number of concerns that the council, the solicitor, and the town administrator had raised regarding decommissioning and an escrow. There were a number of other documents that the council had asked for directly or through the solicitor, tax information, all of which I sent photographs of some other projects to show some innovative things that Green Development is doing to have multi-purpose agriculture associated with its solar projects. At this point, I'm really just here to answer any questions that you have. I believe I've given you all the information you were looking for. I believe I've answered the questions, and I believe that all the red line changes I made addressed everything the council asked for, but if not, by all means, let me know, and I'm happy to provide you with or make any additional changes.
Does the council have any questions or comments at this time?
Thank you, Mr. President. A few, if you'll indulge me. Mr. Brusini, on the development agreement, starting on page 1.
Well, we're talking about the tax stabilization.
Oh, forgive me.
That's the next item.
Yeah, okay. You can do that one too. Questions on that.
Okay.
So, it's nice to see, I guess, that the megawatts went from 38.4 to 39. I think that was the last number we had been discussing at the faceplate.
Yeah, they've been hovering between 38 and 40, and it still may tweak a little bit before construction.
Okay. So on page 2, first paragraph, whereas addressed in Rhode Island state laws, parties intend that neither, you can read it, along the leased land, each landowner and collectively the landowners will be assessed for any increase in real property taxes or assessments arising from or related to the project or tangible taxes. So, that neither the project owners, in essence, they will not be, am I correct?
Correct, and we had prior
That's
discussions on this at the last
according
meeting. It's the Office of Energy Resources and the General Assembly have decided how taxation is going to be handled for renewable energy projects. And very simply put, between statute and regulation, there's a $5,000 per megawatt payment that the town receives in lieu of personal property taxes or tangible taxes. And that's also in lieu of increasing, sort of end-arounding the mandate on personal property taxes by simply increasing the real estate taxes, as this gentleman had indicated. That's certainly not to say the town can't revalue property in the ordinary course. It simply can't revalue it solely because of the renewable energy project. It's not my mandate, it's the state's mandate.
So help me understand this, because I'm not an attorney, so have some patience with me, if you would be so kind.
So in essence, it's saying neither the project nor the landowners who are going to lease this property are going to see increases in taxes.
If I were to take a building that was exempt from tangibles, manufacturing building, and I placed it on what used to be residential, farmland, does that land now become reclassified as manufacturing land, or does it stay in perpetuity? It's farmland, taxed at a lower rate.
I'm honestly not sure of the answer to that question. In this case, I think the special application to renewable energy resources was part of the governor's mandate and the state's desire to foster the development of green energy in Rhode Island. So that's why it has its own special set of rules.
So if I put to the solicitor, Mr. Gliozzi, if you could
Give me a definitive on that. If you did not, maybe not tonight, but if a piece of property which was rezoned to an overlay district, which was REA 120, I still use the old call, but forgive me. And now it's used as manufacturing, not the tangibles, not the equipment, but the land itself. Can that be reassessed? Because I'm hearing that. Once a new reassessment period happens, we can't, I would imagine we could not go into reassess for manufacturing taxation purposes once they start generating electricity. It would have to be at the next reevaluation. So if you could help me with that, I could get an answer on that, because it would have an effect on the amount of taxes that the town would receive.
I'll be happy to move further, but right now I know two things for sure. Chris Kearns, who is in the management, project management officer for the Office of Renewable Energy, takes the view, very much like Mr. Grassini indicates, that you can't increase the real property evaluation based upon the solar array. But my understanding, there's some cases pending where some towns have tried to increase the real estate based upon whether directly or indirectly the imposition or the construction of the solar array. That issue is ultimately going to get resolved, I think, in court or by General Assembly mandate, whichever happens first. But there is a nuance there that hasn't been, I don't think, may have been clear as far as the Office of Energy Resources, but not clear in the statute.
Right.
But Mr. Brucini knows about the case and the decision, and I don't think the case has been decided, but I'll certainly defer to you. My understanding is the case is Superior Court pending.
I believe they're all pending. I don't believe anything's been decided.
So the issue, the answer to your question is, there are a bunch of cases in Superior Court, at least one or two, that are actually dealing with that issue because of the not the ambiguity necessarily, but the lack of direct statutory directive. That's really the answer. There is no direct statutory directive on that, and I pursued it, just like Mr. Grassini said, with the Office of Energy Resources. They gave me Mr. Grassini's answer, and then I looked a little further, and you can understand that the Office of Energy Resources is promoting renewable energy, so their view is the 5,000 is all you can get. That's their view. 5,000 is all you can get. I'm not saying that that's going to be the last word on it. That's what the courts are for.
It's been about a month since I contacted an official in Exeter, but fortunately or unfortunately, I haven't had that time now to do that, so I don't know through the administrator if he would mind having either tax assessor or town planner, or someone follow up with Exeter or one of the other communities that have some type of court action pending, get a little more insight into this. Because according to them, it is a tremendous amount of money.
If I can follow up on that, not to slow you down. On page 3 of the agreement, the tax stabilization agreement, number 5, tax status. When they're referencing in there Rhode Island general law, is that the law that they're referencing? It says you can't reclassify that land because there's a solar array on it. Am I correct?
Off the top of my head, I don't know if that's 4247 in the statute. I'd have to look, but there is no statute that talks about you can't reclassify the land. That's the whole issue. It doesn't say that. That's not what the statute says. The statute talks about tangible taxes as a result of the construction of the solar array. It's being interpreted that that's all you can get. It hasn't been. There is an ambiguity in the statute that doesn't answer that question. That's why I indicated in 5 that nothing would prohibit the town from obviously taxing the real estate, but there's issues out there. So we have to decide whether you want to negotiate it, litigate it, or accept the Office of Revenue position.
So,
Can I make one comment on this? I think so. With the, and I don't mean to interrupt, when the legislation was passed, it was on a case that happened in North Kingstown, and they had against the town about the tangible tax, and the turbine was deemed that it was tax exempt. With that, all solar arrays, everything, wind, hydro is tax exempt in Rhode Island. We sat on a board together with the Office of Energy, Division of Taxation, the Governor's Office, and they created a piece of legislation. That piece of legislation was moved forward, voted at the House and the Senate, and passed by the Governor, that gave the towns a clear path for taxing the project. The reason why it was so important for the state is because they have this program that's called the CREST model that determines how much money we can charge for the power. So to make sure that all the towns get their share for hosting these renewable energy projects, at the same time, the developer in the town had to know very clearly how much money you can charge them, because when we give a proposal to the state of Rhode Island, we allow 11% rate of return on the proposal based on the CREST model. So if you were to charge me $100,000 per megawatt, then that would affect the CREST model. So what they put in was $5,000 a megawatt is all in. The land below it still gets taxed at the same rate. Any increase of the land below the array, which has happened generally in town, can increase it. So right now you have a tax treaty, and when we negotiated this, we negotiated this last year in depth with the council. And this agreement is same for the agreement's the same as what we negotiated last year, besides just some timing, 25 to 20 years, some different changes that the town asked us to make some adjustments to. And then we came in and we offered the $2,000 more per megawatt to be used on any other avenue. But to negotiate the office, back to the legislation, the Office of Energy has given a letter to all the municipalities with their opinion on the underlying tax. So more than likely, if either way where the case goes, there will be another portion of legislation that will clear it up, because the intent is the 5,000 is all the town can, that the town can charge the developer, the landowner, for their property. And so they set that, so it set a whole bunch of rates after. But back to this agreement, last year we were very clear on the agreement, the $5,000, we've had multiple meetings and we negotiated, we came in with the 2,000 a megawatt. On top of that, plus the incentive program, which is the next thing we're going to talk about. So our agreement, I feel, is redevelopment, that this is a procedural act with the council. What I gave you a year ago is exactly what you have today. And I think with the planning department of the town, the project has expedited very quickly in the permitting of solar arrays. So we're ready after this vote. After you make your vote to approve or disapprove this tax treaty, then we only have one more step to go back to planning for our final meeting. And when we were discussing the overlay district, we put this clause here to make sure that the town didn't approve the project before the tax treaty was done. So time is of the essence for the tax treaty. I believe we answered a lot of the questions. And if you wanted to renegotiate the underlying taxes, I really think that's legislatively where that's going to happen. And if it does go up, it wouldn't really affect this project, but it would affect the Crest models. You know, they can't go back to the taxes. So what has happened in some other towns, and we are the leader in this because we're delivering projects first on most of these facilities. The towns have tried to tax the underlying property higher than its commercial land. And that's what the cases are right now. And OER has sent to those towns, in every town, their opinion of the law and how they wrote it. So it might need a small clarification next year to make it clear for everybody else what it has to be.
So Mr. Aguilera, thank you for putting it in section 5. Appreciate that. But the 5,000 per megawatt or $5 per kilowatt, my understanding is based on the equipment itself. The land is taxed separately. So getting back to our point, full circle, 190. We've done that, we're going back full circle now. The land itself can be reassessed at a higher value. It's my concern. Hopefully, the town needs to get money. So I'm looking to see if we can get a definitive on that. If it can become commercial land at the next assessment phase. Because the agreement would be for this during this, we got a couple more years before we do another assessment. So we could look at that somehow. Or you could explain it to me more thorough over a cup of coffee. I'd appreciate it.
Well, I'd be happy to do that, just so for the record. If the council wants to go that way, we have to litigate. We have to say no. We're going to make sure that we are going to tax the property at a higher rate based upon commercial. We'll make that clear. And it's going to be important just like these other cases. It's not going to be, unless there's an agreement with the developer, litigation, agreement, I mean, that's where we are on that, on the underlying property, even though the developer is not really involved in the underlying property. No. The developer is involved with the solar array, leasing the property. As far as the taxing of the property, what's happening to other towns is the town is assessing them at a higher commercial rate, and the people below, who are going to the leases require you to defend it, maybe they do, you're defending the increase. They're appealing the taxing. So the council tends to do that, that's fine, but that's not a decision you necessarily make at this moment. But I mean, because it's for the purpose of letting the council know that you for it, so we should make that clear. But ultimately, it's going to have a function of the tax process, right? Tax assessor is going to assess the property at a higher value. The developer is going to appeal. It's going to go to Superior Court, and whether that case gets resolved before other cases get resolved, or the legislature acts, I have no answer. I have to do whatever the council wants, but I can't give you an answer that has not been. There is no answer at this moment. There's only action.
But the language that you put in here, B, under 5,
I wanted to make it clear that
gives us the opportunity, potentially.
I tried to make it.
I'm not saying it gives us the right, but it gives us the potential opportunity, if something changes, to do that.
If you want to have the opportunity that you're discussing here, that's not what the language that I put in there. I didn't want to exclude a discussion or any kind of agreement as to the underlying real estate in this agreement. My attitude is we're not making an agreement on real estate. So the answer is you can make an agreement with the developer, make sure it's clear in the language that we're not going to make an agreement on the real estate. We're either going to litigate it or wait for the legislature. We're going to do our own thing later on down the road. That's one approach. What I was trying to do is carve it out. I wasn't really carving it out to the point where we were going to go to the next step and actually tax it as a change of classification. I would be a little clearer if that's your intention to carve this out. Under no circumstances shall enter this agreement in any way, shape, or form affect the city's ability to determine the taxable classification of this property.
This tax stabilization agreement is only for the array.
That we can do, I can make that language clear. If that's what you want, we can do that. That's not, ultimately, this issue's gonna come back to a fight. Which is, I guess, Mr. Pasquale is aware of, and he's in the middle of it right now, between other towns and ultimately legislature. So, we're happy to join that group. I will make that clear. The council's goal is to make sure, and I mentioned that to Mr. Cassini, I said, under no circumstance at that point are we going to agree that this effectively resolve the tax consequences of the real estate. You understood that. I don't think Mr. Cassini misunderstood that. I would just make it a little clear. I didn't know the council wanted to go to the point of joining the ranks of the other towns.
No, that's, I'm just getting clarification that this doesn't preclude us from doing that.
I will make sure that happens.
It doesn't preclude us from doing that, but it doesn't say that, it doesn't stop us from.
Right. I will work, if I need to, I'll make it even clearer, Mr. Cassini. The council does not want any language affecting the tax.
But there's one thing, so I'm going to be a simple person here. We have negotiated this a year ago. We don't negotiate, vote on an agreement, make sure we execute. The reason we're here is to finalize the megawatts and to make sure the agreement, to memorialize the agreement. So what you're saying now is, and we can't agree, be clear, we cannot put in that agreement that you have the right to tax me under the property. If you want to do that, then I'm just saying that let's go to 5,000 and let the court system run out. But by doing that, by we going to the 5,000, I will assure you that either legislation or the court system will prevail, because it was part of the plan, the governor's and OER's plan, that the 5,000 had to be a fixed number. It had to be for the town, it had to be for the development, it had to be for the state. So the number's a fixed number, and I lobbied for the number. I said I didn't care if the number was 100,000. Whatever that number needed to be a number, because I get paid for it. So if they said the 5,000 was 100,000, and I get $100,000 a megawatt paid from the offtake of the nonprofits or the towns,